This one will get controversial, I'm sure.
They were so hot at the beginning. What's been going on?
They're just not executing. We don't learn the alphabet in Australia. People are panicking about, we need a transfer window because we don't want people getting poached throughout the season.
I think they were stitched up, weren't they?
Oh, they've had a shocker, eh?
Giles must still be a bit gutted, I thought. It just feels like what could have been the season.
They're just not racing well enough. It's kind of make or break right now. Welcome to SailGP Tiers. I'm Lisa Darmanin and I'm joined by Stevie Morrison.
In person, very
exciting. We're 7 events in to the 2025 season, so what better way to break it all down, rank the teams once again, create some controversy, make a few people angry and a few people happy.
Well, if we do that, it'll have all gone well.
So today we're going to go through each of the teams. We're going to pop them in the tiers, maybe have a few agreements and a few disagreements. I also want to talk about the transfers. We spoke about it at the beginning of the season, see how that's all playing out, and then maybe predict what's going to happen for the next couple of events.
Look into our magical crystal ball of SailGP fountains of knowledge.
Well, you always pick it pretty well, Stevie, but I did just review where we ranked everybody at the beginning of the season, and I'm actually looking pretty good after this weekend.
Oh, I was perfect.
You were perfect until Portsmouth.
Yeah, Portsmouth has absolutely done it. It's been a big weekend though, hasn't it? There have been some big changes. And how we're going to do this is alphabetical, right?
Yep, so what better way to start off with Australia?
Oh, the Roos.
Yeah, the Bonds Flying Roos, they've had a massive year. I think they've had, quite an up and down year in general. I mean, obviously that wing collapse was insane for the team. And I think this weekend they were a little bit hard done by our chief umpire.
I think they were stitched up, weren't they, by the umpire team there, yeah. No way that should have been a penalty.
No, well, I'm glad we're in agreement to begin with. But yeah, that was, to me, that really pushed them out of the final and they didn't really deserve that. So for me, I would put them still right there at the top in their killer instinct. They are someone that everyone should be worried about. They're here to win SailGP, that's what they're about. They're really good at sailing through the fleet, and if they're out in front, they extend their lead. So for me, they've still got what it takes. They've been a bit hard done by, but they bounced back pretty well from that wing collapse as well.
Well, yeah, and I was thinking that because I was like, well, they're not. Maybe they haven't got the killer instinct because they've missed quite a few finals. But when you look at it, yeah, they were stitched up yesterday. I think Craig and the team. Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? There's a lot happening, but they definitely made an error. It should have been a GBR penalty for me. And then, yeah, where did we get to then? Well, then we got to the wing coming down, didn't we? So that was another final they should have been in. So they probably have got the killer instinct, but I don't know, it's just not quite clicking, is it? Because when you look at the data, they're the best team in the league by a mile.
Yeah, the other thing I would say is if they're not in the final, they've been, 4th this weekend, 5th in New York. So they're not having a shocker. They're still there. And I think if you're top 5 at an event, yes, you want to be in those finals. But if you're consistently either in finals, top 5, you're still a big player in this season.
So we're putting them as killer instinct. It feels like that's quite an easy one.
Yeah, we started easy. Next up, Brazil.
Oof.
I think it's been awesome to see that Mubadala team really grow. I think that win in New York for that race win for Martini was incredible. Everyone was so happy. And I think just for a new team, they're kind of as expected. Like it's not all going to go perfectly, but to see moments where you're like, okay, things are working, things are going well. I feel like they're building momentum in the right way, so I'm going to put them in that category.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I was really impressed. Of course, New York was amazing, wasn't it? But then a lot of the other events, they have been pretty well back. And this one, it feels to me like when they're on the L foils, pretty good. Yeah. T foils, there's a lot of work to do. And I don't know if that's just because that's when everything's happening a lot quicker. And that's when Martini's struggling a little bit to be quite at full pace, or is it not just her, is it the whole team? So I don't know. I'm not entirely sure with Brazil because, yes, they probably we wouldn't expect them to be anything great, would we? But I suppose I came away from this weekend a little bit underwhelmed.
I would agree with that. I thought they would do better this weekend. I think it's a tough one, but I think as a new team, as you said, when it's a little bit windier, you've got to think about more things. The race course that we had this weekend was so tough. I think everybody showed just how hard it was to kind of read the wind, get round that really tight reach to Mark 1. But, I don't think when I look at the other tiers that we have, which we haven't told everyone yet, so I guess the tiers that we're looking at is Killer Instinct at the top. Then we've got Hot or Cold. Next up, I've got Building Momentum, a Slippery Slope, and the final one is There's always next season.
Yeah,
I don't really know where else I would put them.
No, and I think they did come unstuck with the starting. That's been the story of their season. And I think New York was less about starting. There was a few wind shifts. You could get back in the race. Maybe I don't know if I want to agree with you on that one. I need to maybe think a little further. Can we come back to it, or do we have to decide now?
I mean, what are you arguing between? I guess, like, if they're not in building momentum, are they hot or cold?
Or are they already back in the whole sort of next season vibe?
I think it's hard one because it is a next season.
I mean, clearly they're building to next season, aren't they? That I would argue that's what they're up to.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But for me, if I was a new team in this league, it's like, what does the season success look like? And for me, I'm not riding off the season if I'm Brazil. I'm like, okay, if we can make finals by the end of the season, that's what success looks like for our season. Whereas, like, if I'm some of the other teams that we're going to discuss, I'm like, what have we done this season? I just want to be next season already.
Okay. Well, they are building momentum. They are, on average, getting better.
Still not happy.
I'm still not totally convinced about it, I suppose, is where I am. I mean, New York was so good. If we'd have done this podcast after New York,
I'd be
fully on board, yeah.
Well, how about we get through a couple more and then we can double check how we feel about Brazil.
Well, we'll put them in it for now.
And then we'll continue our journey.
Building momentum.
Yeah, I think so.
Copy.
Canada. Want to kick us off?
Well, Canada have been very sort of hot and cold, I would argue. They've been brilliant. Like through that first bit in California, they seemed superb, really, really fast. And then this weekend, Giles, home turf.
Shocker.
Pretty bad, weren't they? You know?
It was so
And there's
strange.
Now a gap from the first, the top bit of the fleet for them.
Yeah, I think for me, I was really shocked of Canada's performance this weekend. I think, their boat handling wasn't great. They were falling off the foils, which is very uncharacteristic of them. I think generally they were quite good at the shiftiness. They have a really good relationship with Annie and Giles, like picking the shifts and things like that. So I was quite surprised to see them not just out of the top three, but probably having one of their hardest events this season. So definitely hot or cold. They're either in the top three or they're
really up and down, aren't they? And I think, again, it'd be interesting to know why, wouldn't it? They've had the most time on the T-foils, so they look really good. Obviously, Auckland, they didn't race, did they, because of the injury to Billy? But then once they got Billy back, then they've looked really, really good. But then they went onto the L-foils in New York, not so great. And then you wonder here, is it that everyone's catching up with them in terms of time on the T-foils, or is it that they just couldn't get off the start line?
Yeah, I think one thing that, we're talking about the teams here, but what I think is interesting that after 7 events, we're coming to all these venues that are really different. Like Portsmouth was so different to New York, which is so different to San Fran and LA and Sydney and Auckland. Like they all have been super different, which is why we've probably seen different winners everywhere. So when we're trying to rank these teams, talking about hot or cold, like what I think we're seeing people's strengths and weaknesses more. I just wasn't expecting this event to be a weak one for Canada.
No, I thought they were going to come out firing because it was quite breezy, good for the T-foils, home turf. But I do think where Giles probably needs to have his most focus is when it does get a bit freestyle in the start. I think if he can have a little bit of space and then execute on his own, he does a brilliant job. And they had a couple of starts at this event where they bang, off the line, mark one, gone. But yeah, as soon as it turns into a bit of a street fight, I'm not sure that's quite Giles's game at the minute.
Yeah, and the start was really different, and I think that's where some of the other teams as well, they didn't adapt as well, like you're saying. Whereas when we think about someone like Peter Burling that can kind of go with the flow, he'll come from anywhere, did a great job. But yeah, completely in agreement on this one. I think that a bit disappointed with their performance, but chuck them in hot and cold for now because they're up or they're down.
Yeah, it feels like a no-brainer. Feels like this is a bit easy at the moment.
Do you think it's easy? To get hard. What's tough to see? Spain.
Espanol, yeah. Denmark, I'd go with.
Oh, yeah. we don't learn the alphabet in Australia.
that was an absolutely huge tick for the Australian education system there. Perfect.
It's also been a big weekend for me.
It has been a big weekend, yeah. I think maybe there's an element of fatigue. But let's go with Denmark, shall we?
Okay, this one will get controversial, I'm sure. Oh, they've had a shocker, eh?
I feel it's been really hard, yeah.
It's been so hard. It's been hard to see. Obviously, they missed the event, LA, San Francisco. Hitting that mark was just a bit diabolical. But then even so, like they haven't really shown anything that we saw last year. They were in the hunt for the final last season. pretty much all the way until their incident in Auckland, which was just before the grand final. So I think for me, I'm just like, where did that team go?
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they made a few changes, didn't they? But I thought they were, generally speaking, quite positive ones. In the main positions, you've still got Sehersted, you've still got Tommy Johnson, and you've still got Raz. So it's kind of the same core that they've always had. But I don't know what it is. I think maybe there's the pressure. Do you think it's pressure? Like you said, a few more seasons into their campaign, there's probably now an expectation to make a final, like a grand final.
Yeah, definitely.
Not an event final. And, they're on the back foot, aren't they? So what is it? Because when you see them manoeuvre the boat, they manoeuvre the boat well.
Yeah, very well. I have no idea, and I'm sure they're probably asking the same questions. I mean, you've been diving into the data a little bit more recently. Like, it just feels like it's a bit like nothing's really standing out.
Yeah, I mean, is it Nikolai feeling the pressure? Is he thinking, I've got to be getting these top performances, so I've got to take a bit more risk than I'm perhaps comfy doing?
Yeah, I think the other thing is, like, we have had a lot of discussion about the style that you need to race in SailGP has to be quite aggressive. You've got to kind of like assert yourself, go full Viking, as yes. You guys say. So I don't know whether it's like this pressure of I have to perform or do I need to change the way that I sail. And I think when you've sailed one way for so long and that's your style, it is really hard to be somebody else. So I don't know, I mean, it would be annoying hearing us say this, being like, do this, do that, but I'm sure he's making his own decisions. I just think when you're trying to just change, I guess, like your perspective on racing, that's something that you have to learn. I think the other thing with the Danish is we have gone to the T-foils, which obviously we had L-boards in New York and things like that, but I do just watching the boats around the racetrack, they do handle differently. And the way that the forces are for the driver and for the flight controller, it is a slightly different boat. There's a whole new element of cant that everybody's learning. And I think it took everyone a bit of time to figure that out. But I just wonder if, there's this style of sailing, there's the T-foils, there's the pressure, there's just a few little elements that have kind of making it hard. And then after that incident in LA, just being like having to start from scratch again.
Well, I mean, yeah, the LA was sort of inexcusable, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, I just feel something needs to change. I don't know if it's like management. They've changed management.
They've got a new CEO, Tongi.
Yeah.
Tongi's come from the Swiss, and now he's running the Danish
team.
team.
So that could be a good call to sort of someone to reframe it all for Nikolai. I wonder if there's an element of overthinking and not allowing himself to be himself.
Or
maybe now that there's 12 boats on the start line,
yeah,
you kind of have to be a little bit more freestyle. And he strikes me as a guy, he's a man with a plan.
Yeah.
He's kind of got a good routine. I mean, they're brilliant. Their handling is superb. They've been on such a good progressive journey through this SailGP experience they've been in. But right now, they don't seem to be able to, take the next step. It's almost like they're on a little bit of a backward, slippery slope, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely put them in the slippery slope category.
I mean, are they slippery slope or are they season over?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Because after LA, losing 2 events, I mean, for them, it's kind of like, all right, let's just try and make event finals now, but they're not even doing that. So I was going to go slippery slope, but now I'm almost convincing myself, is it trying to work out what's happening, reset, and get ready for next season?
Yeah. The reason I'm going to go slippery slope is because I think in this next little bit of time, they either need to get a couple of podiums or they need to stop being on that slippery slope and actually be in the place to go next season by making some changes. Yeah. And I don't know what those changes are, but right now it's not clicking, is it? And so much of it's good. And I've loved their journey. I've always thought they've done things so systematically and in a good progress. But, the results are results. They're not as good this year as last year.
Yeah, I mean, they're not... take away the events that they miss. They're not coming last every event. They're kind of they're mid-fleet. They're mid-fleet. So they definitely
but we're talking about them with high expectations.
Yes, exactly. Like, I think going into this season, the aim was to make the grand final, and I think that was a really realistic goal for them.
Yeah.
But I think, right now they're really in that mid-pack, but what is it going to take to kind of bring them out of that kind of like slippery slope to a season ender to be like, okay, actually we are a competitive team and these are the changes we're making. So we will be ready for next season, but it's not a full write-off for them. They're not in a stage where it's a full reset, redo. It's like, what do we need to do to make that jump, I guess? So we agreeing slippery.
Well, I don't know, because you're about to put them in next season.
No, I'm going slippery.
I'm going to stick with slippery slope.
Slippery
because
slope, we're either going up or
I
down.
actually think they've got to make they're heading towards season over, and probably results-wise it is, but they've got the potential to win events, which I think from a brand perspective and a confidence thing would potentially make the season have some positives. But they've got to do that soon.
They've got to get out of their own way and start with.
They've got to get out of their own way. And they've got to stay well clear of the gate marks.
Yeah, there's been some close calls with a few marks. Those poor marks getting beaten up. Okay.
So we've gone with slippery slope.
Slippery slope for Denmark. So if we just recap, we've got Australia, Killer Instinct, Brazil, TBC, building momentum.
I think building momentum. I think you're
yeah.
probably right on that.
The alphabet's ticking over. Canada. Where do we put them again? Hot and
Hot
cold.
and cold.
A bit
Come
like
on,
me.
LD. Yeah.
You're going to have to take over.
Hot and cold. And then we've come in after Canada, we had Denmark, because D comes after C.
I've learned something today.
Every game's a game.
Okay, now
and
can
we put them in slippery slope.
Yep.
And I would argue I'm coming towards you for Brazil. So I've done you a favour.
Yeah.
And you're...
Agreeing with you with Denmark.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We'll take that. So after D comes...
E, but Spain
But this is
Espanol. It's a trick question.
It's a trick question.
All right, our champions from last season, Spain. I mean, they impressed the American legs back to back. They're going for the hat trick this weekend, and then it just wasn't the Spain that we're used to seeing.
No, they seem to have sort of found a bit of a magic potion, a magic button almost, didn't they? And I thought, oh, here we go. You know, the youngsters, the nippers, that's Boteen. Well, I mean, he is compared to me, and he is compared to Slingsby, isn't he? So I think, for a lot of them, he is a bit of a nipper. And I thought they're about to reinvent it. They're off.
Yeah, me too.
And they did not look like that this weekend.
I think coming off the back of New York, it was like, the Spanish are quick. They're defending champions. They're showing why they won. They're showing it's not a fluke. They're here to dominate. And then this weekend, it was a bit like, where were they all weekend?
Yeah, well, they just got themselves tied up at the start again. I mean, it was quite a specific weekend, weirdly enough, in that you had to. It was such a short start to Mark 1.
Super unique, like very different to most
that first bit to Gate 2, from the start to Gate 2 was just
chaos,
almost too short.
Yeah, a lot of sailors were quite not in agreement with the way the race course was set up, because the start box was super unique. The reach to Mark 1 was very short, which means there wasn't any time for sort of the fleet to spread out. And then the jibe, so the first manoeuvre had to happen really quickly. And then the gate was just there immediately. So the amount of manoeuvres that they were doing within the first couple of minutes. So I think it threw everybody off. But the Spanish, it wasn't a good... They weren't last. They were same thing mid-fleet, but we kind of expected them to be up there. In saying that, they have impressed this season. And I think that they can bounce back from these sort of downward little... No one's this season, I think, is going to have a smash-out season. We're not going to see the dominance that we saw.
The standard's just so high, isn't it?
It's you make a mistake and bang, 7 boats go past you, whereas before you might lose 1 or 2. So for me, Spain, they're still right up there. They've got the killer instinct. They've got what it takes to win this season for sure. I wouldn't call them hot or cold. I'd pop them in killer instinct, because I think they're still a team that everyone is looking at thinking, oh, they're quick.
Yeah, I mean, they can when they get to a final, they've got a pretty good hit rate, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, they snuck into a few finals, and
then they turn it around. Proper Slingsby-esque, really.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that just sneak a final and then get to the final and just demolish everyone. I think they've got things to work on and think about. And as I say, this weekend's completely thrown me off with everything, because I thought they were just on fire, and then they, as you say, didn't really look at here at all. But what was interesting here was, if you go back to the race on the Saturday where they came round second, Slingsby went at them, and I wonder if that was almost a sign of respect from Slingsby. You know, like,
I'm worried about you. I'm going to give you.
I'm going to give you a nudge here, mate.
Yeah,
and because they went from second in that race to 10th.
Brutal.
By getting a little bit out of phase, and I think that highlights the standard. But it's something for them to think about. I wonder, are they not quite as good if they get a little bit knocked off their flow?
Was that a pun? Because flow triddle is the wing triddle.
I wish it was.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like when they're in the final, they're super dangerous. I think in New York they could sail through the fleet really well, which was really impressive. And in that shiftiness, they were doing quite well. But maybe, as you're saying, is when they get in these battles, it's just a reminder that no one's really your friend out there.
No.
So are you going with Killer Instinct as well, or Hot and Cold?
I think I could convince myself of... I put down Killer Instinct.
Yeah.
And I think I can't be swayed by this weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to stick with, yes, Killer Instinct for the Española.
And after E comes F.
Yes, which is?
France.
Oui.
Yeah.
C'est vrai.
Oui, oui.
Yeah.
It was a tough weekend for them. Really hard.
It's been a tough year, hasn't it?
Such a tough year. I think for them it's hard to know kind of what this season could have been, I guess. I think they were, last couple of seasons, they've been knocking on the door for the final. They've shown so much promise, and then we get to this season, it's their boat isn't ready, then their boat is ready, but their wing isn't, and then their wing collapses. So the amount of racing that they've missed, like they've been lucky to get redressed at the beginning of the season, and I thought, is that going to throw them off? They haven't had a lot of time on the water. How is that going to affect them? They came out firing. It was like, we remember how to sail this F50. We remember how to race, making a couple of finals. I think it took them a little bit longer to get up to speed because they just didn't have that time on the water. But in New York, they were quick. They sort of looked like they had their groove. And then, after breaking their wing on Saturday to then come out and win a race on Sunday and get a second, I thought, it was kind of like a what could have been weekend for them.
Yeah, well, it just feels like what could have been season. I still say that, really. I mean, okay, they made their call at the beginning of the year to wait for the new boat, get that in New Zealand. But then the boat wasn't quite there, and there was a few issues, wasn't there? And yeah, I don't know with the French. I mean, there's got to be pressure on them. Like there's Enzo Belanga, something like that. He said Moth Sailor, just won the Moth World.
He
really
did the
well.
America's Cup as well.
Yes,
so he's been around that team.
The
for
French
a while.
have got a heck of a talent pool, and I don't know. I mean,
Enzo's
Contan's brilliant, to be fair. I mean, I don't really feel like Contan's under pressure.
No,
because I don't think any of these things have been his fault. It's just been unfortunate. But they have got so much talent in France that, again, you feel like they need. Maybe it's just not lucky.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we say in sailing it's better be lucky than good, but I think with the French, they are really good. I think they definitely haven't had things go their way. But what I really like about that team is that they get knocked down and it doesn't really affect them. The fact that they came back and they've done really well with the races that they've been able to sail.
Well, they still came away from the event with a point somehow.
Yeah, which is insane, missing 4 races in one day. And commissioning the wing morning before you go sailing. So I think for me, that just goes to show that they really could be in the hunt, but we're kind of at this point in the season where it's kind of make or break right now. And I don't think we have enough data to really tell us like where they should be. For me, it's pretty hard to rank them. I can't even say hot or cold, hot or cold, but not their fault.
Yeah.
But also I think we're at a point where are they on this like slippery slope that if they have another major, whether it's their fault or not, the season's kind of done. Like I felt like every event that they've not competed in, it's like, what's going to happen? But yeah.
Well, they've definitely. I mean, we don't want to get. We'll talk about what's to come in the season later on in the podcast, won't we? But without doubt, they've got to go and win one of the next few events.
100%.
And they've probably got to make finals in 3 of the next 4. I'd say.
Which they were doing. They made the final right in New York and San Fran. But, yeah, they do need a win.
Seems harsh to put them on the slippery slope.
I agree.
Can you have an unlucky slippery slope? Like you've just been...
Slippery slope, but not your fault.
Yes, you've just been...
Someone's pushed you down the slide.
Yes, yeah. Your parents have taken you to the theme park and you're just off.
And you're just like, I don't want to go down this slide. I'm climbing back up the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, they just seem, like I say, just... is there a massively unlucky category? Can we have a massively unlucky category?
I think I've already created a category with building momentum, so I'm not allowed to create a category anymore.
I'm going to go hot and freezing.
Hot and freezing. Yeah, I mean, same thing. Hot or cold, but not their fault that they're freezing. It's a tough one. It's been such a rough season. I mean, I love watching them sail. I think like when they get out there and get to really get in the heat of battle, it's like really cool watching them race. But yeah, they're kind of like this unknown category because they just don't have enough kind of minutes on the board right now.
Yeah, and they'd be a really interesting team for the Danish to look at, I think.
Yeah.
Because Contan is like Mr. Freestyle in the pre-start, isn't he? He's always the guy coming through late, like, where is he going to go? And then he finds a gap. I mean, he had some brilliant starts on Sunday, and I think maybe that's the plan. The plan is to have no plan.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty freestyle, but it's working. And I wonder if that's something for the Danish, the team with the plan, do they need to just, take the shackles off Nikolai a bit and let him just go for it?
Yeah, I think that's a funny thing is because I was talking about how each venue is so different that you have to have this freestyle. And I guess with more boats, you might have to be a little bit more freestyle. But I also think that each venue offers you a different way. So you might go into a venue saying this start box is X and therefore we need to just go with the flow. Or it's like, it's textbook here, guys. We've got to be hitting this, and this to be able to execute. So maybe it's more of a kind of looking at the venue and the conditions and working out what like the theme is for the day rather than the plan. We've gone off topic though.
Yeah.
Okay, hot or freezing? Hot or cold? Yeah, hot or cold.
Hot or cold is the one we've got on
France,
offer.
yeah. All right. Should we take a break and talk about transfers? Because
yeah, I did think we'd have been arguing a lot more.
I did think we would be arguing more as well, but I mean, the data never lies.
Well, the results don't lie, do they? And as I say, I think this weekend's really sort of upset the apple cart a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of cool because I think the season was sort of playing out in a way like, okay, this is kind of gonna be how it rolls, and then everything was thrown up in the air and everyone kind of proved different arguments, and now we don't know what we think.
But what we're going to talk, we're going to talk about some transfers, aren't we? Because there was quite a talking point in the first podcast of the year, was getting onto who went where, who wasn't where they could have been before. Or,
well, we didn't even know. Or I mean, there was a lot of rumours.
Yes. Yeah,
there was a lot of rumours going around. Can confirm Kyle Langford is now sailing with the Italian. And it's working out pretty well for him. It's also working out pretty well for Chris Draper with the Aussies. Obviously, they did a little bit of a transfer there, and I think Chris has slotted really well into the Australian team. Probably, I'm a bit surprised how well it's gone for them, but I think it might have even been what they needed. Not that Kyle wasn't great. Kyle is great, but having like a fresh set of eyes that has a different way of sailing might actually have just helped them look at the way that they were racing maybe in those lighter conditions in a different way. I was going to say,
I think Draper's a bit of a light wing guy, soft hands on the wing sheet, and and looking ahead to the grand final being in Abu Dhabi, of course you've got to get there, but probably going to be at the lighter end compared to San Fran, so that could go pretty well for them. But it has been, I think, a fairly good transfer each way. The interesting thing, again, you've convinced me actually that Australia have been a bit unlucky. And they really have been executing. But when I was thinking that they seem to be, Tom in a lot of interviews says we're just not quite executing New York. I mean, he said it yesterday. As I say, I think he was a bit unlucky. But I just wondered, did Tom and Kyle, there's probably nothing in the sailing ability.
The trust.
Yeah, and that ability to just sort of chip on his shoulder and say, shut up, Tom. Eyes forward. Or, I don't know. Tom's fiery, isn't he? When he's on fire, he's brilliant. But how do you reset him? And I did wonder if that was part of their execution thing. But you've now convinced me that all is well on the good ship Australia.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like, there's just a few things they're not doing to the standard maybe we expect of them. But in general, losing your wing trim and having to race them could have gone diabolically wrong, and they're pulling it off okay.
Yeah.
So good call bringing Draper.
So good transfer for both teams, really.
Yep, I think Kyle's done an amazing job with that Italian team. I think at the beginning I was a bit like, oh, this is going to take a bit longer for them to get up to speed than I thought. We'll chat more about them later, but I think Kyle's, a great pick. I mean, obviously Jimmy has been wanting him for ages, and I think he was the right person for that job with that team and that relationship with Jimmy. And I think a wing trimmer is kind of like the glue between the driver and the flight controller, but
when the driver's Italian and the flight controller's Italian, I wonder what the Aussie language in the middle's like as that gel.
Probably quite challenging.
Yes.
But yeah, obviously that was a great win for them. And then if we go to another new team with Brazil, obviously bringing in the big guns with Andy Maloney, that was an awesome signing for them. We touched on it before when they were on the L boards, they're looking really strong. But I think Andy, a fantastic flight controller, and I think we've seen New Zealand losing Andy has hindered them at the beginning of the season, but are they at a turning point now with Leo sort of getting up to scratch?
Yeah, well, they look fast, didn't they, at the weekend? And they often have, but they've looked like they've made a few mistakes, whereas they really did a good job. 'Cause it was tricky, I think, out there. You were on the water, I wasn't, but it looked quite tricky conditions. So that means it's hard for the flight controller to get that, how much am I going to push game balanced out. So I think Leo did a good job. And yeah, I think it's interesting with Andy because he almost looks like just absolutely exceptional on the L boards.
Yeah.
Like next level. And I was speaking to Paul Goodison down in Southampton, and he said, Andy's just unreal on those. But obviously, come Switzerland, it's all going to be T-foils.
Yes. I actually interviewed Seb after the race yesterday, and we were talking about how whenever they feel on the T4s, they just feel like they're locked in. And that's really credit to Seb basically overhauling their whole team. Like it was full transfer on their team. At the beginning of the season. We kind of like had no idea what to expect. And they've sort of gone above and beyond, I reckon. And as soon as they're on the T4s, they're quick, they're slick, they know what they're doing, they look in control. And I think with those flight controllers that we're talking about, we haven't really touched on Leo that much yet, but it's actually been quite a hard season for the flight controllers, flipping between T-boards and L-boards. We've had, Auckland was really choppy. New York with the tide was really hard in the shifts. And then San Francisco is always a big push. So I think flight controllers, you never know when it's going well for them because no one talks about it, but you definitely know when it's going bad. And I think everyone's sort of making mistakes at the moment, but the pressure is on the flight controllers at the moment.
It's definitely a really underrated job, I think, in many ways. Probably because it's so hard for us to actually get in and see what they're doing, and it's such a...
the boat tips over and you think, the wing trim is really messed up there. Yes. But the flight controller, you don't really know.
But I do think for Leo, he had some big boots to fill.
100%.
And I think, maybe he did have only Leo will know, did he feel nervous? I mean, that team's pretty tight. Kiwis traditionally get round their team, don't they? But he was good this weekend.
He was really good, and I think at the beginning of the season, if they were doing a manoeuvre, you kind of didn't know if they were going to stick it or not. And I think in the past with Andy, it was like you just knew they were going to.
Well, they were going to gain.
Yeah, they were always going to gain. They were always going to make that critical manoeuvre to get around the mark or overtake that boat. Whereas even yesterday, watching in the final, like Leo did a fantastic job, but I still was like, this isn't over because a mistake could be made. Yes. Whereas in the past, I wouldn't have said that about the Kiwis. I'd be like, if they're out in front, they've got it safe. I think when they did well in New York, making that final, I thought, is it because they're back on the L boards? That's traditionally Leo's experience with the Japanese team in the past. But yeah, ticking the box on the T4s this weekend, I was like, it's clicking for Leo.
Yeah. And maybe good for the Kiwis. I mean, building through the season, but we'll get onto them, won't we?
We'll get to N eventually.
Yeah. Could really challenge the English lessons.
Any other transfers? I think we kind of touched on
Well, you brushed on the Swiss. I mean, I think they were brave, and it's gone pretty well, hasn't it?
Awesome.
They've been, they've actually got, everyone seems to have fitted quite well. Arnaud seems a very strong character, which is what Seb needs, I think. And he's very knowledgeable. He's really driving the speed on the boat. And so I think Arnaud's doing a good job of being the gel, as you described, Kyle. He's sitting in there quite well and really making sure that the boat's on point and forward focused.
Yeah, and I think also bringing Maud in as a strategist. I think Seb and her have sort of like grown up in the Olympic world together, and you can just see that like the trust that they kind of have in each other. And Maud's very like assertive in what she thinks, and so is Seb. And I think it's kind of like good. It just looks like they've got a really good rhythm on that boat. And obviously when they're on the T4s, when they're on their boards, they're a little bit lost. But in general, great move, bold move by Seb at the beginning of the season to kind of restart. And then I know that you love talking about how good the grinders are. So do you want to elaborate on that? Well, you're bringing the grinders in.
Well, they are, yeah. I mean, they've got Big Stu Dodson, they got Martin Gottrell. There's a lot of power up there. And I think, again, it's one of those other things because we don't have a load cell on the winch. We don't see quite how hard they work when they work. But I think that extra horsepower they can put down on the handles means that Arnaud's got that ability to trim quite quickly when he needs to. And yeah, I mean, they've just made some smart calls, I think. Transfers.
Yeah.
Dylan Fletcher, Giles Scott.
That's a huge one. How did I miss that?
I don't know. How did you miss D out of the alphabet? It's one of those days.
All right, Giles and Dylan. I mean, I think it's kind of gone well for both of them in a way. I think Dylan had a lot of pressure on him to prove that he was the right pick because there's a lot of choice in the UK of good drivers. So I think, Dylan's proved that he was the right decision. I think Giles has really come out of his shell, and I think he's done a fantastic job kind of bringing the Canadians to this different level. And I think what Giles brings to the Canadian team is like they've always had kind of moments of brilliance, but been really erratic. It's like up or down. Talk about hot or cold. That was them last year. Yeah. But I think this season, Giles brings like a bit more of a process to that team, and seeing them win that event in Los Angeles was pretty incredible. So, for both of those drivers to come in, have new teams, both have won events this season, it's a success for them personally. For the teams as well, I think it's still been a success for the teams. Are we agreeing as well on this?
Yeah, I mean, Giles must still be a bit gutted, I'd have thought, for being kicked out. Well, my perception is he was kicked out, but then equally, I don't know. He just does get to lead the team in NorthStar Canada, so he's probably not gutted. Actually, he's probably quite happy.
I think he's doing quite well for himself, actually.
I know, he's doing really well. Yeah, I know. I mean, I do think it has gone quite well for both the teams, really. I mean, this weekend's, again, sort of upturned it. I'd have said it had gone really well for Canada and Giles, and good, and then, is it as good as we thought for the British? But then this weekend's totally flown on its head, hasn't it? Because the British are back in the mix. Canadians didn't have a good one.
Anything can happen at SailGP. Yes. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes, well, it does. It's just got so much tighter, hasn't it? And I think it's been a good move. I mean, they're pretty big names. They're both Olympic gold medalists, and I'm. It's a bit annoying. Why are we agreeing so much?
Well, one thing I do want to touch on the transfer, just before we go, is that I think we're at a point in the season now where people are already talking about next season transfers. Which I don't have any rumours for you.
Oh, come on, of course you do.
But what I know is people are panicking about, we need a transfer window because we don't want people getting poached throughout the season. So I know that that's something that's been talked about, and I think right now it's a free-for-all. So
we should wait until we've done all the other teams.
And then guess who's getting transferred next season?
Maybe.
All right. G.
Are we going Great Britain?
Let's go Great Britain.
GBR.
Emirates Great Britain. We should have gone E. Emirates Great Britain. All right, Emirates Great Britain. You can kick us off.
Yeah, I mean, I feel they've been hot and cold. They were so hot at the beginning, 3 events in a row, podiums, and then they went really downhill. And then this weekend, in many ways, was a sort of a representation of their season. Unplayable first day, and then there was something going on with the boat. There was some sort of hydro issue, and maybe there was that really difficult juggling act of, how much risk do I take? Because I probably don't need to be average to make the final here, because I've had such a good first day, and I don't want to get penalty points. I don't want to, do anything too silly. But I'm not sure Dylan has that mode,
Like Dylan, conservative mode.
No,
he's all or nothing.
Dylan is just boom, razor focused ahead. So I feel they've been pretty hot or cold. I'm
going to disagree with you on this one.
Ooh, finally.
Finally. I think they've had...
What, you think they're on a slippery slope?
No. I would say, I think this British team, I think they do have that killer instinct. I think this weekend the pressure was on. They'd had the bad events, I agree, a bit cold in New York and San Francisco. But... To come out firing on a home event weekend with the pressure of like having to pull it all out with the crowds that they had. Obviously they didn't win, which, would have been a little bit tough for them. Coming out on that Saturday and getting, I think it was 1, 2, 3, 2 or 1 or something. Like
all top threes.
It was an incredible scorecard. And then day 2 to deal with the issues that they had, and even when they were coming late into the start, just getting in there and having a go and pushing their way around the marks. I think they're always, like this weekend showed to me that they have what it takes to kind of fight their way into those finals. And I definitely think that we can see them in the top 3 at the end. if I think about the other two that I popped in there with Australia and Spain, I do see them in that same sort of echelon. I agree that they can have a full shocker, but the way they bounce back this weekend, I'm calling Killer Instinct.
It's obviously harsh, I think, to say hot or cold, but they, bar this one event that we just had in Portsmouth, if we'd have done it before this weekend,
then I would have gone hot or cold.
Yeah.
Okay, beginning of the season, they've got the final in Dubai, one in Sydney. No, we had Auckland between then. They were second in Auckland. Or third. They were in the final in Auckland. Then they won in Sydney, LA and San Fran, shocker. Oh, actually, we had another event.
New York.
Oh, so
Not
3
great.
shockers, 3 good. All right, hot or cold it is.
Yes!
I'll give you that one, Stevie.
Hot or cold. But when they're hot, they're hot.
Yeah.
The trouble they've got is when they're cold, they're cold.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, that's the difference, you see, because
extreme.
Australia, when we call them cold, they're coming fourth.
Yeah, agreed.
So that's where I give the bombs
like
flying Roos the little
approval.
nudge. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's a second G.
Germany.
Yes.
Not so yes for them.
No.
They've had
What's been going on?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, this weekend, despite obviously hooking the mark and having to pull out of the race, which was a full shocker, they're just not executing. I think the starts, they're really coming undone in the starts. I actually expected them to do better this season. I think at the end of last season, I really thought they were nailing those starts, lots of precision from the German team. But this season, it's just, they just can't really put it all together. Obviously, they had the massive incident in Sydney with the Brazilians, which got them all the penalty points. So I don't know where they would be sitting without negative 12 points, but
They'd be a lot better off.
They would be a lot better off. But yeah, I mean,
they still wouldn't be great.
I still think
We're not talking about them
final or no final.
We're not even really talking about the mid-fleet. Do you know what I mean? They're nearly always pretty near the back, which I didn't see coming.
I didn't see coming either.
Because like you said, at the end of last season, they were in that building momentum category you'd have put them in probably.
Yeah, they were kind of where you expected them
Yes.
to be. And then this season, it's like you expect them to level up. Okay, you're not the new kids on the block anymore, but it's kind of, I'd say it's a slippery slope.
And do you think there's then a I think they've got to start thinking about next year.
Yeah.
And how do they, and I think when I say that, thinking about next year, I think that is then, things have got to change.
Yeah, and the thing is, like,
or we need to know, why are they not clicking?
Yeah.
Why is it not working? And what are we doing about it?
Yeah, there has to be, it's like a rebuild for them. It's a full rebuild, reset. It's kind of like where the Swiss were, where it was like whatever they were doing was not working, that they had to change something.
Yeah.
And I think right now you'd be, whether it's boat handling, starting, not making massive errors, like nothing is going well for them right now. That's a bit harsh, but I
think it's true.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't like the people.
Yeah. I mean, all fantastic sailors,
like,
but sometimes it's not working.
It's not. I don't think we're being mean. We're just looking at a results board that isn't showing. If you're in business, you'd say we're not delivering the outcomes that we want.
I think we're kind of at a point where it's not like they can claw their season back. So season is done. How do you use the next events to make sure when you show up for next season, you are a contender?
Exactly. And that's where I think they're already at the stage of we need to do something different. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean changing personnel. That's an option. But you can't go out and keep doing what you're doing because it's not working.
Yeah.
So that's a tricky one for them, because they, like you say, they've got some fantastic sailors. And where do you go within Germany to find a little bit of different talent that can change it up? I'm not entirely sure, but
could have seen a few people floating around this weekend. Just German
come on
sailors. Then. No comment.
Lisa Darmanin.
I think there's a lot of talent in Germany.
Well, I know there is.
Yeah,
and you saw a lot of it down in Southampton, by the sound of it, Portsmouth.
Well, we were going to do rumours for the transfer at the end of the podcast.
Okay.
But I think what that tells me is there are people sort of like looking. I mean, obviously, Stu Bethel is not German as well. Great wing trimmer. Bringing someone brand new in probably isn't going to kind of cut it either. But yeah, I think there's so many things that they could do, but I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start. So I'm sure they're having some.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I probably mentioned it too many times, but the Swiss had, in Racing on the Edge, Seb had met up with Roger Federer.
Yeah.
And then at Wimbledon, I was watching the telly and Mr. Ben Ainsley was there. And then sat next to him was Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah.
Of course, with the German team. And you wonder, what can someone like Vettel, can he step in and help, or can he, he's obviously not a sailor, but he's got that experience and that knowledge. Should they be leaning on those people a bit for advice?
Yeah, I think one thing that's quite unique to sort of SailGP that maybe some of these sailors haven't experienced is like this leading a team and having to coordinate more people. Like Eric's had such success in the Olympic world, and then coming in and then having to coordinate team, lead a team, make these hard decisions, push other people to excel. Like it's quite a significant role he has to play beyond just being a driver. So having someone like Sebastian that he could lean on is a pretty incredible asset. But yeah, they're kind of at this point where back to the drawing board, what do we need to do? Make these little changes in the season that we have left. But yeah, tough time to be a team leader, I reckon.
Well, yeah, but equally not super tough in that you look at it and go, well, it's not good enough.
Yeah, it's obvious there's a problem.
Cut, isn't it? So
but
in that sense,
the fact that we're not really from the outside, we can't tell you, we can't see exactly we can't pinpoint. This is what they need to do better.
Yeah. Well, they need to do everything better.
Yeah, but I mean that's quite overwhelming.
Yes, well, it is quite overwhelming. Yeah, but that's where that's why I think you need to be inside.
Yeah.
The team to know what that dynamic. Does Eric have too much on his plate? Does he need a more sailing related manager to come in and take some burden off him and let him just go and be a sailor?
Yeah. The other thing is, I think the thing that we don't necessarily have time to dive into, but is the comms throughout the boat. I think when you're trying to communicate around a racetrack, not only about your boat speed and your starting and your mark roundings and your strategy, I think that's a thing that I'm kind of seeing for a lot of the teams is this tactician strategy role is actually more important this year than ever, because the drivers have so much on just trying to make decisions around the racetrack, get the boat sort of in the position it needs, that it's probably really hard for them to look a bit more big picture. So they're quite in the heat of the battle that you almost want someone else thinking a little bit further ahead so everything's not a surprise. So I'm interested to see, each team does that slightly differently. I haven't listened to the German onboards enough to know like how they do it, but
I wonder if it's a language issue.
I mean,
the Swiss went all Swiss, so talking Swiss, well, French.
Yeah. Someone else needs to go to school.
Yeah. They would argue they speak Swiss French.
Yeah.
And then the Spanish, French.
Yep.
Not Swiss French.
Yeah.
So I wonder, words matter, don't they? And I wonder how hard it is for Eric to think in German, have to say it in English, and then it's happened like that.
Moment's over.
Yeah. There you go. You're welcome, Germany. So they are next season.
Next season.
Copy. After Germany.
The brain is coming. Yeah. Italy, I think.
I reckon you might be right.
Yeah. Italy. Oh, Italy this weekend, they showed up. They got fifth, I think, which was really incredible. I think I'm going to take the easy option here, but they're building momentum. They're exactly where they are expected to be. I think maybe even exceeding expectations. Beginning of the season, I was a bit, I thought they would pick it up a bit quicker. But I think right now is kind of like a turning point for them. It seems to be clicking. Portsmouth was so tough with the conditions on the T-foils. People were making mistakes, but they were pretty slick. Their starts weren't magnificent, but they weren't terrible. They got around the racetrack well. And it seems to be like they're actually gelling as a team and kind of putting it all together. I don't think they're going to be I think making an event final in the remainder of the season would be a really good thing for them. They're not going to be in the hunt for the grand final, but I don't think that they're not on a slippery slope. So that's why I kind of put them right in that middle ground of they're going in the right direction and everything seems to be be working, everyone's improving, which is exactly where you want to be if you're a new team.
Yeah. I still wonder if we'd think that bar this weekend, but I do agree they did really well. And I think the interesting thing for them as a sort of an indicator of the roles on the boat, Andrea Tessi, the flight controller, he had a good weekend as well. I think he really stepped up.
And he needed that.
Well, I think he did. One. Yeah, but he's got such a hard role to take on. I mean, it's so hard if you've not done it. But I suppose Italy, they got Jason Saunders in Auckland, didn't they?
And they showed up in Auckland. So it goes to show
really indicated to me how important that flight controller role is. So, I mean, I know we're not doing transfers, but Jimmy's aggressive. And as I say, Andrea's doing well. But if you want to take a team from winning to... from not winning, middle to up there, I wonder, does he go big in the transfer market? Jason Waterhouse, Hol Rodriguez, or Parco,
I mean, anyone with a flight controller would be worried right now.
Yes.
A good flight controller, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think Jimmy will do what it takes to bring that team to the top. One interesting point was they did have a different strategist on this weekend because Mayo was injured.
Yeah.
And they still did really well. So I think that's quite a cool thing. They've swapped strategists a little bit this season, but kind of they just gelled really well, which is, I mean, it was great to see. I think that's the same when I was talking about Brazil. It's great to see these new teams like have those moments of kind of hope, because I think when you come into the league, you kind of don't know how it's going to go. You're kind of hopeful that you can string a few results together, but you're like, this is our learning season. This is where we're going to figure everything out. But then to have those little rewards being like, oh, that was a good weekend, we're moving in the right direction, is always really nice when you're kind of building a campaign. So it's kind of a season-defining moment for them, I think, having this 5th place. Obviously, they kind of need a race win. They've had a couple of seconds and thirds. I don't think they've won a race.
No, and they still look like they make mistakes. When they're at the front, they're often looking over their shoulders. They're not just off down the road, which a lot of the other teams are at that stage. Their manoeuvres aren't quite good enough yet, but they're all a lot better. And as you say, I think it had been before this weekend.
Well, this weekend's happened, so we can't pretend it hasn't.
Well, I know it hasn't. I know, but I'm just still flustered by it, I think, or certainly my voice is anyway. But I just think that yes, that things are going the right way, but it's a big weekend for Andrea.
Yeah, good weekend for him.
So, doff for the cap to him.
Done.
Yeah.
Building momentum.
Yes, building momentum. Happy with that one.
Okay, next up, New Zealand. Black Foils.
The Black Foils, yeah.
Well, I was surprised they won this weekend because I wasn't super impressed with how their season was going. I think because they had such dominance last season, I was like, where has New Zealand gone? But for them I think they were kind of like quietly there all weekend. We were focusing on, Emirates GBR going really well and Switzerland were impressing, and then New Zealand just like happened to be in the final. But what was really impressive for me is that they were last off the start line, which it rarely happens for them.
Yeah.
So, but then to come back and win it, I think that's really what made me think, oh, okay, maybe they are back. But for me, I think they're a bit hot and cold. I still don't really think, I know, I mean, in my rankings, I put them at the top at the end of the season, but I don't really look at them and be like,
they're also top now.
They're also top now. I know, but I don't look at them and think, oh, I 100% believe that they're going to be in the top 3 at the end of the season. At this stage, they've had 2 event wins, which only Spain and the other team to have done that. But I'm still probably going hot or cold for them, because whilst they were good this weekend, if they're thrown a challenging condition, I still don't know how they're going to go. They're kind of like hard to pick at the moment, whereas, yeah, it's a tough one. I'm going to go hot or cold.
Yeah. I think they get it done.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think, again, maybe I'm now being swayed that way for them by this weekend, but I think pivotal weekend for Leo. We talked about the transfer thing, and there's been a lot of pressure on him because he's had to fill big shoes, and they last year whenever they did a manoeuvre, they gained, and this year, as you say, you've not been entirely sure if they're going to stick it, and even if they stick it, it's not beautiful. And there was a tack yesterday we saw, and it sunk down at the back, and they just got, he caught it. So there's still a lot that they can get better at. And I don't know, you'd have to speak to them, and I can make excuses for them, maybe, I don't know. But last year they were so good, weren't they? And then it's almost like, where did they have to go?
Yeah, exactly. When you're at
Whereas
the top.
now they're almost like they're growing into the season. And yes, maybe they're average, but they're winning the whole season.
True.
So maybe that's the standards we set for them. So perhaps they're hot or cold relative to themselves. But should this be relative to themselves or relative to
it's interesting
the fleet?
I don't have every result clean in my head, but I can't really think about the races or the events that they were not in the final, what they came.
Yeah, I mean they did have some poor events.
When you
but I think when you
compare them to Great Britain,
so
we're saying Great Britain is hot or cold. I think
you came to me with hot or cold.
Hot or cold. How do they compare to New Zealand? Obviously the British are fourth and New Zealand's winning. So, results never lie.
No. I mean, what I don't disagree with is New Zealand have got runway to get better.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that. However, Spain have got runway to get better.
Yeah.
As of Australia.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're talking about anyone being exceptional.
Yeah. Fair. My expectations are very high of them, I guess.
Yeah.
That would be so.
You're not going to come to me again, are you?
Yeah, I'm going to go. We can upgrade them to Killer Instinct.
This debating game, who knew? Incredible scenes.
I feel like it's more of like I give you one, you give me one.
Well, maybe a little bit. I think that, New Zealand, without doubt, have got plenty to improve upon. And I think I probably have been quite swayed by this weekend, because I think for Leo, he's got to be walking a bit taller.
Oh, it'd be massive relief, I think, for him. Because trying to fill those shoes of this like absolute dominance last season to then be struggling in most of the races so far this season, to then kind of come back to one of the harder events and be like, no, it wasn't just a fluke in New York with L-foils. I can do T-foils too. I think for them, it'd just be like, we're back. Like that's kind of what it feels like for them.
Yeah. And chances are up with Sassnitz, it'll suit them a bit. But anyway, that's probably enough on them. So we're putting them in...
Killer Instinct.
Black
Foils tick.
Copy that. After New Zealand, we're going to go to...
Phone a friend.
Yeah. I do know who's after this, though.
Yeah, I do too. I think we're almost there.
Switzerland.
They had an awesome weekend. It was so cool to see them in the top three and just like the happiness that Seb had when we interviewed him after the race. I think for them it was kind of like coming. I felt like they had, race wins and they were showing these like moments of brilliance, and then they were just having complete shockers. So for them to put the weekend together, make that final, obviously wasn't the final that they wanted to have,
well, they let it mark one.
I mean, great elite at mark one, had hydraulic issues and had to pull out, but they were kind of already third by that point, which was, I think, a relief for everyone. But for them, I think that this is kind of a moment for their campaign, like a bit of validation as well for the decisions that Seb has made. And then, I mean, looking at the season, I kind of feel like they're a bit hot or cold, like they're either on or they're off, but they're moving in the right direction.
Well, they're definitely, I mean, they were 9th in New York, weren't they? So, yes, they've definitely... To me, they've not had that consistency.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually feel they're building momentum because I think they are slowly. They've made a big change at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
They are stepping along in the right way. Hence the fact they've just now got to a final. But yes, they've. I don't know. I feel like
it is a tough
feel
one.
like they've clearly built momentum, but but that's being swayed by Portsmouth. Rather than looking then at New York when they're 9th, and you'd be saying, okay, well they're even hot or cold day to day.
That's
not
what
even
I would
event
say.
to event. They can they can win a race. They're a bit like Talladega Nights, Ricky Bobby, aren't they?
If you aim first, you last.
Shake and bake.
That's what SailGP is. Not first, you last.
Yeah.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, obviously for my argument's sake, but they're either winning, like even in day-to-day racing, like they're either at the front or out the back. And I think what kind of changed this weekend is they were probably more at the front than the back, and that got them in the final. So I'm sticking with hot and cold for now, just because, I mean, they haven't, they have been here for a while, like they've been trying to build for so long. And obviously they've made that big change. And I just think, that's a tough one. Tough one to argue, actually.
Well, no, I can go with you on hot or cold, to be fair, because I feel like my building momentum is quite swayed by Portsmouth.
Yeah.
We're obviously so close to Portsmouth and that, and it's a great result. It's easy to kind of get on the euphoric bandwagon. Going back to, if we are using Roger Federer as the analogy for them, they say you've only broken serve when you hold serve in the next game. So they kind of need to go to Sassnitz.
And prove that it wasn't a fluke.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's go with hot or cold.
Hot or cold for the Swiss. And then to round us out,
USA.
Oh.
Well, it's been a bit tough, hasn't it? We said a shocker for Germany. I feel it's ultimately been a bit of a shocker for the USA, really.
Yeah, I think for them.
They started the year and they were in the, they came straight out of the blocks, podium in Dubai. Light winds, slightly more, chess.
More Taylor's wheelhouse, I'd say. I think, for them, it hasn't been the season that I think that they have wanted. I think they've had some massive blows. I think they just haven't been there. They're just not racing well enough.
No.
And I'm sure they're probably thinking the
same.
same.
I think what's interesting is, so I'm, I don't know if any of you guys out there are not thinking that it's all about building for next season already. What I would say is this weekend down in Portsmouth, they've made some changes already. So actually they are getting into it, which is good to see, I think, for them, because they've got Andrew Campbell in, they've got Mark Menninger, they've got Marcus Lynch in as a coach. So they've sort of changed up what's a lot, really. Mike Buckley took himself off the sailing rota for this weekend anyway. You might have more intel on that, I don't know, but he wasn't on my crew list anyway. So maybe Mike can take that more big picture direction for the team. I don't know what he's thinking or they're thinking, but what I like is that they're maybe sort of they're not saying it to us, they're not saying it to Instagram or wherever else that they've they're making these big changes looking ahead, but they are saying this isn't quite good enough. We've got to do something different to move forward.
Yeah, and I think building a team like they have with their new US team, it's kind of like you put the things in place, you've got to give it enough time to say, is this the right formula? And when it's not, make those hard decisions and put different people in. And we are at a turning point for them where I think 7 events in, they're thinking, okay, it's not working. What are we going to do for next season? And kind of give the new athletes time to get up to speed once again to be able to fire next season. So I put them in focusing on next season, because
I feel like that's a no-brainer.
This one's not going very well.
No, and it's I think the positive thing for them is they've, in my opinion,
they probably looked at themselves and think, what are we going to do?
Yes, and that's important. They do get moving forward.
All right, well, moving forward.
So So you've shifted to me twice and I've shifted to you once. Is that how that's gone?
I don't know, but I'm happy with where we've put everybody, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was a productive conversation to rank all of the teams.
Copy.
All right, let's actually look at where we put everyone in the categories. So starting off with Killer Instinct, we've got Australia, Spain, and New Zealand.
Correct.
Double thumbs up from Stevie Morrison.
Yeah.
I want to know if everyone listening agrees with us, because that's always
Could
an
be
interesting
a lot of thumbs
one.
down.
Anyone you'd put in there that we didn't, or kick anyone out of the top 3, that'd be quite interesting. Okay, next up, we've got hot and cold. Hot and cold, we've got Canada, France, Emirates, Great Britain, and Switzerland. So,
big category.
Big category.
There's
for
one
that
hot and freezing in there as well.
Subcategory.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good summation of their season so far. I'm still a little bit not quite sure about Emirates, Great Britain, but once again, we'll ask everyone at home to see where we should have put them. But I'm pretty. It'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out for those guys. All right, next up, we've got Building Momentum, which is actually just our 2 new teams. So Mubadala Brazil and Red Bull Italy, which kind of as expected, they should be building momentum in their first season.
I think the fans could give us a bit of grief for that. I feel like maybe that's a bit easy, but I don't think it's wrong. But I wonder if they've had a lot of first season slack. I
think they have, because I mean,
I still stand by it.
I still stand by it too. Not everything I say I stand by.
No, certainly not your alphabet.
Interestingly, for slippery slope, we only have Denmark.
Yes.
So I think Denmark is kind of this outlier in our rankings. I think there's a couple that probably could have gone slippery slope, but were a bit nicer to them. And then always next season, we've got Germany and USA, which personally I think is a fair call. As you said, USA doing something about it. Germany, we're waiting to see. But I guess the fans can maybe let us know in the comments what they think they should be doing to rebuild for next season. Yeah, let's see what they have to say. That's where we've ranked them right now, but we've still got 5 events left of the season. Yeah. So it'd be really interesting to see how it plays out. I'm really looking forward to this European leg. I think obviously being a little bit closer together will suit some teams, not others. We've got German events, Sassnitz. I haven't sailed there. Eric was talking to me about it. Looks pretty amazing. I think it'll be a nice event.
It looks a cool place, but what did Eric say?
I mean, he just said it's fantastic sailing. Things sort of like moderate to windy, but flat water, so absolute champagne.
Is it likely to be a bit offshore there?
Yeah, it sounds. So I mean, we didn't go into the heavy detail, except I think it's going to be quite not an easy venue to sail, but maybe less boat handling, more tactics.
Yes. Yeah, I think there could be a couple of shifts, and obviously prevailing wind would probably normally be slightly offshore, is my guess. So it looks a beautiful place. and yeah, it'll be an interesting racetrack. But I don't feel like these racetracks, the fact it's a new venue, I don't think that levels the playing field.
No.
Because the courses are so short, it's about executing set plays more than any great local knowledge or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then where do we head from there? Another new venue, isn't it? Geneva or Saint-Tropez next?
Saint-Tropez first, which I think Saint-Tropez, we've had one of our windiest days sailing there. We've also had some light finals, so we could get anything in Saint-Tropez, which is really exciting. And I think that what this season has taught us more than ever is you can't be good at one thing, you got to be good at everything. So Saint-Tropez is one of my personal favourites to go to. It's
probably going to be one where all the A-listers go to as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be fantastic. And obviously with all our superstars now owning teams,
could be a big weekend.
Could be a big weekend. Yeah. And then also the back-to-back weekend, because we did that in LA San Fran. We've got Saint-Tropez followed straight by Geneva. New venue. Not sure what to expect there. You've done a bit more sailing.
Yeah, done a little bit there. I mean, the locals say that that's a great time of year to be there. So it will be shifty. It will be patchy. It's fresh water.
Ooh,
which does make a little difference to how the foils perform and the speed you need to get the boat up in the air.
So you need to go a little bit faster to take off.
Yes.
But obviously we also have the T-foils as well.
Should have them, yeah.
We're going to have potentially the light air T-foils in Geneva. Yes. So I know they did some testing just before Portsmouth to see how they went, and from all reports it went well. Yeah, so fingers crossed for that one. And I think
it'll be an interesting venue. I think that'll be shifty, and it again, I kind of feel like it will suit the teams that can manoeuvre well. Most of these venues coming up, it's going to be about good tacks and jibes. Because I think there'll be that opportunity to, if you can do that, like Spain, like New Zealand did in New York, where they found the lanes through the shifts. I think that's something that will be back on the table.
Good call. And then Cadiz. An epic venue. I love Cadiz. I think it can get. That's one for the flight controllers. I reckon. That's it. I mean, we've been talking about maneuvers,
swell, isn't there?
But there's ocean swell that we won't see in those other locations. So that's going to throw things out again. I think it's the flight controllers that have a real handle on that boat that can kind of save disaster. And I mean, it's an amazing venue. And what's really exciting is because they're all so different. I mean, anything can still happen this season. We've got the top 4 points all really close, but that midfield...
Massive pressure on France and on Canada.
100%. And then they need to be winning events in the next 3 100%. To be able to be in the hunt for the final.
Which is an interesting mindset, isn't it?
Which changes... It's one of those things is like you don't want to change the way you sail too much, but you need to be more aggressive because it's kind of like do or die.
Got to get in there, do or die. Blimey, that's serious.
Or I should say full send.
Full send. I think it is pretty much do or die for them. And then it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, you don't want to talk ill of people, but if teams aren't performing and we're getting towards this back end, this is sort of potentially some of the last few events for them to prove their role.
So much to come. So exciting. I mean... I can't predict who's going to be in that final, but that top four, I'd love to see, you know, a disruptor in there, whether that's France or Canada, like you're saying, kind of come in there and be like, actually,
you kind of feel like that top four are the big four. Spain last year with a disruptor went and won the whole thing. And now they've sort of said, yeah, we deserve to be here, haven't they, really? But
you know, France just missing out the last 2 seasons, having a bit of a rough run. You kind of, for me, I'm kind of hopeful that they're going to be back in there fighting. But unless they have a couple of good events coming up, they're kind of out. But yeah, who is going to be the one that messes up that top four? Or is it kind of be that fight for that third spot come Abu Dhabi?
Well, I mean, it's all on, isn't it? And I think for me, you look at it and I was like, wow, suddenly Canada are 10 points out of it. You know, how's that happen? But things can happen real quick. You know, one little mistake, you have a collision, you get some penalty points, or something silly happens. Yeah, there's a long way to go this season.
And we keep talking about how Portsmouth really threw us off, and we've still got a whole bunch of events to go. Yeah, so anything can happen. It's so exciting. It's been an incredible season so far, and it's kind of been good to go through team by team. And you know, everyone has these. Well, most teams have had elements of greatness. A couple of teams are looking at themselves and thinking, "Oh, we need to change something." But yeah, incredible season so far. Awesome venues to come.
Yeah, too right. And I think if I were you, Lisa Darmanin, I would keep my ear to the ground about flight controller transfers.
All right. Well, maybe
I think this transfer window, the big money, is going to be some of the teams a little bit lower down the league buying or trying to buy one of the big flight controllers.
All right, we'll have to bring some solid gossip for you next Tiers podcast then.
Yeah.
And for everyone listening at home.
Exactly.
Or in the comments, people can let us know.
Yeah, who would you buy?
Who's your money on?
Buy? Yeah.
If you were building a team.
Last season, it was Maloney's money, wasn't it? That they changed. The roving reporter, Lisa Darmanin, was out to find out about Maloney's money. But who's it going to be?
Who's it going to be?
Is it going to be Parco's pounds?
All right. Well, we might wrap it up there. We've had a good old chat. I learnt the alphabet, and we're good to go. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for listening along. As we were saying, we want to hear your opinions. We want to hear what you have to say, what we've done right, what we've done wrong, because we do love the feedback and your engagement in it all. And make sure you subscribe for more content, because we'll be here chatting again, no doubt.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks, everyone, for following. And I think the next few events are going to be epic.
Until then, stay on the foils.